Hi, and welcome to another episode of If It's in the Mind, It Can Be Managed. Today is something completely different. And I'm excited about this because this is something I want to learn about as well. To be honest, Aileen, and I have said that right, it's Aileen, isn't it?
It is Aileen, yes.
It is Aileen. I find this subject absolutely fantastic because it's something I would say that I possibly lack in and I would like to learn more. So I'm going to 100% use this. It's like, right, I've now got Aileen for 7 hours. I didn't tell you that's how long the podcast was. We've got you for an hour. I know you're a busy lady, and we're going to talk about sales. Now, Aileen, introduce yourself because this is a sales mastery kind of podcast for coaches, therapists, anybody wanting to increase their sales. So, Aileen, who are you? What do you do? And why are you here?
All right. Oh, sounds a bit like, remember Scylla back in the day?
It does. Like blind date.
Where'd you come from? So, so for those of you that don't know me, I'm Aileen Boyle. I run a business called Fortro, and I launched it back in 2020. So my background is in helping businesses get the most out of their business. So I was always in client services, I was in implementation. I used to put practice management systems into law firms. I helped the business leaders get more out of their technology and their systems in their business. So I have to be clear. I never saw myself in sales. I was very much on the client side, and I wasn't the person pushing or chasing clients. And actually, the traditional way of doing sales never really sat right with me, and so I actively avoided it, like most people did. But then 2020 happened, and we then couldn't do sales the way that we had done before. And there was a real opportunity and a real need for business owners to throw out the traditional pushy sales methodology. They were needing some way to connect more, to keep their businesses going. And so I decided that I would give it to them. So, and I pulled on everything that I had learned over the previous odd years of helping clients get what they needed, to negotiate with them, to help them make the right decision for their business. And I wrapped it all up and really called it the unsales way. And because 2020 was the kind of year of adapt or die in business,
Yeah.
it was the moment that everything shifted. And so business owners were open to doing things a different way because they knew that they had to either adapt or die in their business. So that is how my background is: client services, technology, service-based, but I moved into a sales methodology, or an unsales methodology, when I launched this business in 2020, because the world and business owners needed another way to connect with their clients, to convert their prospects into being clients in a box like this. And so they needed to just burn the rule book and start again.
Yeah, I love that. I have a question.
Yes.
When you say that sales just didn't sit right with you, what part of
Yeah.
the sales did you not like that didn't sit right with you? Because I think that's a really powerful statement.
Yeah. So traditionally, we were really, the way to do sales was to be quite aggressive, very persuasive, more of a hard closer. There was a lot of kind of pestering until people just said yes, or they completely blocked you and took out restraining orders, that
I
sort of
had that
thing.
with somebody. I did have that with somebody. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not nice.
No, it's
It
bullshit.
really, their idea of overcoming objections was just to convince people who weren't sure to part with loads of money.
Can I?
Um,
Oh, I have to share a story.
yeah, go
I,
on then.
Aileen, it's everything you're talking about. Right. So when I first started going out into coaching, as a mind management coach, there was, and I'm not going to mention who it was, but they're
Yep.
doing a big, massive AdCon thing this year. And I remember I liked the person on social media, and I was like, oh, I quite like him. I like what he's talking about. That's something that I need.
Yeah.
And I didn't get him. It was one of the sales team. And oh my God, I was like, there is no way he knows you're talking to me like this. They just completely, and I said, oh, I'd like some time to think about it. I want to speak to my wife about things.
Mhm.
Flip the script. It was like, why should I call you back? Why should you? Now is the time you invest? And I was like, I don't know who the fuck you're talking to. Who? Oh my. And it just put a scunner on coaching for me, to be fair. So when
Yeah.
you say it didn't sit in a line, I'm like, you're absolutely right. Brutal. Brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it still goes on in this day and age, But I know, I think what business owners are facing now is they know the market has shifted. So even since 2020, the market has completely shifted again, but they're not necessarily sure how to connect with their market. They know the prospect is much more savvy than they used to be, and there's a lot more. Well, why should I not just do it myself? So they really need to the connection needs to be, the focus, not the sale. And, it's about, selling should feel like a natural extension of your own expertise. It should feel like a conversation because it's not selling. It's actually helping people make a decision. And there's so many people who'll be sitting there going, well, Aileen, yes, I know this. However, what's happening is there's a knowing and then there's a doing gap because people know this, but they're then not quite sure how to implement it in their own businesses. And that's where what I do comes in because I kind of connect the dots for them.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's absolutely.
Because we all know we want people to be nice and we all know that we don't want to be sold to. However, when you're faced being a business owner and you know that you've got mouths to feed and you've got, you want to serve your clients. There's that as well. It's not just about bringing the money in. You want to serve your client. You know you are the thing that they need in order to make their life so much better. But there's an awful lot of, but I'm just not sure how I do that right now because what was working, even though I made this massive shift and I'm very much about the person in front of me, there's something just not quite connecting again. So it's that the unsales way gives a framework for people to kind of be able to keep looking at how they're doing things and be able to make the tweaks. And that's where the real benefits come in when you start talking to. So it's those I call them rebel business owners who kind of do two fingers to the traditional ways and who want to serve first and sell later. That's
Oh, I love that. Serve first, sell later.
yeah.
Wow. So that's the on sale. Is that the first part of the framework, or is that the full part of the framework for working with Aileen?
So that is the framework that I look at. And there's a couple of levels within that. Depends where your business is, but that it is called the Sun Sales Way, and it looks at everything from your proposition. What are you bringing to the market? I don't mean the product or service. I mean, what does it feel like to be your client? How do you interact with them? How do you talk to them? How do you kind of make them notice you? Well, you don't make people notice you, but how do they notice you? How do they find you? How do they interact with you? Even at that basic level, through to what does it feel like to be in a conversation with the prospect? How does the prospect feel? Where's the connection? Right through to, okay, so it's definitely a sales-based call. You are definitely having that conversation where you're going to talk about what it means to work with us, with you or I or whoever. What is that? What is the framework of the conversation? Are you getting all the information you need? Are you giving them all the information they need? Are you talking about yourself too much? Are you not guiding? It goes quite granular, but the framework is about making sure that the prospect gets the outcome that is best for them.
I love it.
And I think that's a bit because it's not about you, it's about them.
Absolutely. Is there any a time that I was just at another meeting? So because this is about sales mastery. Aileen,
Yeah.
we met networking.
Yes, we did.
I'm still a big believer in networking because I like the face-to-face contact.
Yes.
I genuinely think that people would be, oh, I like Cuddy. Oh, I think I'd like to work with him. That's
Yeah.
possibly one of my unsalesy way of. I also know that some people go, he's a wanker. I don't want anything to do, but I don't mind that. I genuinely know that if there's no resonance, it's not going to work. To be fair,
Well, exactly.
I do say that
Yeah.
with my clients. If there's anything about me, hair, language, glasses, chins, you don't like it, don't pay for it because it'll not. There'll be a
Yeah.
resentment.
Oh,
Um,
that's so true. Yeah, you're
there'll be
absolutely
resentment.
right.
I genuinely, I thank you so much for saying that as well, because I think sometimes I do suck at sales, but I'm like, no, I give them the bare facts of what's going to happen working with me, and they're like, oh no, that's what I want. Perfect, that's fine. Let's do this then. It's not even a problem.
Yeah.
But no, if there's no resonance, there'll be resentment. Oh, have we just coined something, Leah?
Yeah. I think we have. I have.
I
Quick,
think I think
trademark
we've
it.
just coined something, Leah. If there's no
Yeah.
resonance, there'll be resentment. So,
Yeah.
how do you help create are you into social? Do you help people with their social media of saying this is what you need to do here, this is what you need to do here, this is what you need to do here to link it all up?
So I always maintain that if you're not getting the results you want, as in you're not creating the revenue, you're not getting the clients that you want, because if we take the word sales out of it, well, for a start, I take the word sales out of it. We call it sales because that is the process by which you go through of going, I'm here, I'd love to help you, let's have a conversation. And then the client goes, you're exactly who I am, where do I sign? That's the sales. So if we have that as the definition, the first thing that I would say that people need to make sure is clear is that the story that they tell about how they're helping clients aligns with the person in front of them and the market that they want to work with. It is a value-based thing because it's a people-based thing. So even if you're using AI to help you articulate some of that, and some people do need it, they've got an idea and they just need a tool to help them actually articulate what it is, and then they'll Cuddify it or Alienify it or whatever. That's all good. It has to align with what people are looking for. So that's the first thing that they need to do, and that's the first thing that we would work on. And I spend a lot of, and we do spend a lot of time on that. And they think, well, why? But that's marketing. The message is something that marketing needs. It's something that social media needs. It's something that client services needs. It's something that everybody needs in the whole business, because you have to get everybody on that same page. So you asked me, do I do social media? I don't do social media, but I do help them come out with the right. What are the 5 things? What are the 5 big things that people need to know about when they're to if they want to work with you? And those 5 things can be used in their marketing. Those 5 things could be used in a podcast. Those 5 things could be used in how sometimes you get people that take a quick video, they're out walking the dog and they go, I got this question the other day. But they can use it as the basis of that. So I think what I do is I help them have the ideas for the content that they may want to create, but actually pressing the buttons, that's not me. But for me, it's a business wide thing to make sure that what you're talking about resonates with the people so that they go, oh, that's me. I need to talk to Cuddy. He did that
Mm.
thing, he asked a question and it made me sit back and go, I actually don't know the answer to that. I should talk to him a bit more about what that might be. Or, oh, I don't like the answer that I've come out with. Maybe I should talk to Cuddy a bit more about that. It's to create curiosity. So social media is really important, but I don't press the buttons. Um, and I put a whole pile of we have quite a grounded take on buyer psychology about this as well. I think that's what's at the root
So
of this
let's talk about
message.
buyer psychology then, because that's
Yeah.
that's a fascinating subject.
Oh,
Generally,
hours we could talk about that.
well, let's do it. Let's
Yeah.
grab a coffee and let's talk about buyer
Right.
psychology.
Yeah.
So let's do top 5 things that coaches, therapists, people who are wanting to work with Aileen need to know about buyer psychology.
So, whew, what would I say? I would say, first of all, buyer psychology. First of all, again, it's not about you, it's about them.
Yeah.
So the best way you can get an idea about that is how you ask the questions. And there'll be lots of people kind of going, well, that sounds obvious, but it's an obvious one, but it's not one that's actually well used. We ask questions and then people jump in and go, oh yeah, me too. And oh, and I just had this, and I just, yes, and that sounds like, and if you ask a question, the best thing you can do is then just sit and listen because and then start to peel back the layers. So what was it that prompted you to, like kind of what was it that prompted you to reach out and think I would be great at doing a podcast? Well, I really like how you talk about the buyer psychology. Oh, in what way do you like how I do it? Well, I like how it sort of it kind of stems into what I do as well with the, if it can be managed in the mind, it can be changed. I say, oh yeah, absolutely. And give me a couple of examples. Do you work with business owners on that? Yeah. And how do you work with business owners? Now, I haven't told you a thing about me yet, but what I have got is what it is that interests you, how you work, how you apply it to your client work, and eventually we'll get to where how the clients get that. And then the next bit will be so what is not quite working for you then? Because it sounds like you have a really good understanding of what your clients need. Well, and then you get into where it is. And what did you do about that initially? Well, I tried this, this, and this. And did you ask somebody to help you with that external? Well, actually, I did. And what went well there? And then again, so what I'm now doing is I'm getting what is the problem? What have you done with it? I still have not said anything about me. There does come a point. So questioning is a really great way to get into the buyer psychology. Question and then listen.
It's always listen.
It's always listen.
It's always listen. I mean,
there's no pressure and there's no push. And then you start to resonate. And they go, God, she just listen to me. The other thing is, so another thing is to have that confidence to show up as the leader that you are.
mm,
Because actually, people are coming to you for guidance even before they sign on the dotted line.
mm,
And okay, sometimes it could be, right, okay, prove to me why you're the right person. You guide them. You don't tell them. And it's a subtle difference. And so once you start to see, and when people are answering, you then start to see how they communicate. And that is such gold for the person who is listening. So is this person, you can tell by the language, are they a heart-driven person? Are they a data-driven person? Are they feeling insecure about what they're doing? Or are they genuinely just not understanding where the challenge is? Or are they somebody that likes to tell you just how much they know about something? And all of this gives you information about the person in front of you. And that is gold because you can then start to use similar language. Again, it's another way to show that you understand what they need.
yeah.
And again, they suddenly go, this person hears me, I feel understood. You still haven't made a decision about whether they want to work together yet, because that's not the point. You're still doing that. Can we work together? Can we communicate? Yeah.
I'm
So
writing it
that's,
down. I love it.
yeah,
Every time I look away from the camera, it's because I'm writing notes down.
yeah. So once you've got that, then it's another great thing is for in buyer psychology, because nobody likes to be sold to, nobody likes to be told, because we are all adults and nobody really likes to be told what to do. They like to be asked. So, another thing would be is just to say thank you so much, thank you so much for sharing all of that. That's really, really helpful. I've got a couple of ideas. Can I run them by you? They're not going to go no. And if they do, they'll go, okay, question, can I ask why? And then they might go, because you know what? I've realized it's not you I need, it's Cuddy I need, or it's not Cuddy I need, it's Aileen I need. So I'm going to go and have a conversation.
Mm.
And I always say, that's great that you've had this breakthrough. I'm so glad that our conversation helped. So, is there anything else I can help you with today? And if they say no, I go, fantastic. Let me know how you get on. And if you want me to make any introductions, let me know. And then you part as friends. So, always, I guess what I'm saying is always have an exit.
and you've parted on friends, and they've got it goes back to the old adage of people remember how you made them feel,
Yes.
and you'll have made them feel great, listened to, heard to. So it might not be a day on the day, but 2 months later, they're like, "Oh, I need to speak to Aileen."
Yeah. Or they're out and about and they're saying, do you know what? I had a conversation with Aileen or Cuddy and they really helped me see that actually I didn't need to speak to them, I needed to speak to somebody else, but that was worth a lot to me. You should have a conversation with them. Because
Yeah,
if they can't help you, they'll point you in the right, because they will point you in the right direction no matter what. So that last one, I kind of put 2 points in it, which was one, always ask for permission when you're sharing, and secondly, always give them an exit. Because
I
if you're asking for permission, I know people say, "Oh, ask for forgiveness, not permission." Well, that's grand if you want to, but not in business, not in the sales discovery conversation. It's always a permission thing. Can I share this with you? I've got an idea. I think it might be the right thing. Can I talk you through where my thinking is? And there's a last one that I'm going to throw in there. When you reflect back, going, so what I'm hearing is that you actually don't have a problem with the actual getting them over the line. It's maybe presenting or it's maybe understanding where their challenge is in the first place. Absolutely. Great. I can help you with that. I've got something for that. Can I share it with you? Can I share what I would suggest for that?
love it. It's I
And every
do.
single one of them is just and there'll be people listening and go, well, I do that anyway, and that's great. But if you're doing that and then you're still not getting the results you want, then there must be something not quite working somewhere. And it could be you have to take a few steps back, and it could be, like I said at the beginning, it could be the message, it could be the stories you're telling, it could be that you haven't explained or shown what your clients have achieved in the past. It could be that there's a mismatch of people. It could be that they just don't need you. There's so many things. And that's why you have to implement the sort of the buyer psychology. And the very last thing I'll say is price is never about price. It's about all the other things we just talked about. If they're quibbling over the price, it's because they didn't see the value. And it's because you didn't
Oh,
touch on the points before that I just mentioned.
let's deep dive that there then,
Ah,
right?
yes.
Let's yeah, because that pops up. That always pops
Yeah.
up. It's never so explain why you say it's never about the price, it's about they didn't understand the value.
So there'll be some people shouting at this, going, it is about the price, they're just too bloody expensive. What it means is you didn't exhibit the value to reflect the investment you were asking. Maybe that's a better way to say it.
Oh, it's powerful shit right there, Aileen. That is powerful shit right there.
Let's get really base here. If you're going in to buy a car and you're going in to buy a wee banged up old, Vauxhall Vectra, now I'm showing my age, right? You don't expect to pay a huge amount of money, right? Because it has a certain value. They're good cars, they're solid cars, but they don't have all the bells and whistles that you might want. So you're not prepared to pay more than a certain amount. However, if you find a vehicle that has everything that you need for your life setup, your family, the dog, the grannies, the whatever it is that you need, you get really good mileage, you get, there's no road tax on it, XXX, all of those things. You're prepared to invest in that because it's going to give you exactly what you need to get you to where you need to be, literally from A to B.
Mm.
In business is exactly the same. If I'm talking to somebody and I sound like I'm making it up on the back of a fag packet, and then I go, and by the way, that's 5K, they're going, I don't think so. Because the value I'm bringing, the shift, the transformation, however we want to word it, is not equaling the investment that I'm asking them to make in themselves and their business. Because here's the other thing, the price is just an indicator. It is not the be all end all. It's an indicator of what you're asking people to do. Um, so it has to have a massive amount of value. It has to have a big transformation, a big change in there to the point where the fee is irrelevant because it's the shift that people are looking for. People buy for the shift, they don't
They buy the
Am I
outcome.
making
Right? They're
sense?
buying the outcome. No, I
Yeah,
get
they're
it. Yeah.
buying the outcome. Yeah,
So, bang on, right. I love this. So, how does a coach comes to you,
yeah.
one-on-one service? How do you incentivize the value more? What's some of the sales masterclass with Aileen? How do you incentivize the value more?
So there's lots of ways to measure value, and I guess from the start, it's a case of here are the metrics that I use. You can say that, here are some metrics that I use. Yes, you can look at your revenue has gone up by a certain percentage, but that's only part of the whole picture. Because why did you come to me? You came to me because you were feeling really uncomfortable with your sales. You came to me because you felt that your offer wasn't landing. You came to me because you felt like your lead generation wasn't right. You came to me because your team don't seem to be, they're not you. So they're not, you find yourself micromanaging or getting involved a lot. So those are all measures as well that lead to the outcome of a greater revenue.
Mm.
So actually, what I say is, what do you want to measure this on? Would actually having a team that's all aligned, that are have a really good understanding of not just the product, but how the product makes the shift that they want, would that be a good measure of the work that we're going to do together? And actually, people go, yeah, it would actually, because that would mean that, and then they'll even list the reasons. It means that a no from a client will be a proper no rather than we've missed something. A yes from a client will be a good yes because we know we've done the qualification criteria really well. And that will then lead to better reviews, better word of mouth referrals, and more revenue. So rather than going straight to the revenue, which everybody does, and I get that, it's a case of there's bits along the way. So how do you get the value? You make sure that what you're measuring is the right thing to measure so that you can see where the improvements and increments have been. And I always say, if you can be, and a lot of people say this, but I absolutely advocate that if you can be great and better at 1%, lots of 1% add up to a massive shift. You don't have to go from naught to zero. And actually, to be blunt, I never promised that. Never promised that because I cannot guarantee it. And people might be going, oh, that's a bit bold, Aileen. Well, here's the thing. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow in the economy. I don't know what's going to happen with your team. I don't know what's going to happen in your life. What I can do is I can promise that what I give you is my very best expertise as it relates to your business in this moment, given where you are. Value and promises. You got to be
You don't
careful.
make any promises. You manage expectations.
Yes.
So managing expectations, but increasing the value.
Yeah.
I'm doing everything right. I knew I was, Aileen. I was listening and I'm like, I always manage expectations. This has
And
been
isn't
the
that worth a
absolute.
lot? Even validating what you're doing is worth a lot. People come to me not just because things are not going well. They come to me because they want to make sure that what they're doing is the right thing for their business at that time. And for those people listening, go, well, why would you invest in that? Well, why would you not? It's always about making sure you're at the top of your game. Because if you're not at the top of your game, how do you expect your clients to invest in you? They
Yeah.
need people that are at the top of their game. They need people that are human, but at the top of the game and are always learning and go, do you know what? I'm trying to be the best I can be so I can be the best for you.
Yeah.
You know, and don't get caught up in the, yes, I go, oh, I've got all these templates, and yes, I can give you this assessment, and yes, I can give you these bits of paper. Those are features. It's not the benefits, not the value. The value is you have a framework. You have templates that you can roll out to your team. You have a joined up approach to how you're going to the client. You have the confidence to show up and have the confidence to ask for the business. And when I say that, I don't just mean, so how about it then? Huh? What I mean is, I can help you. Would you like me to? You
Yeah.
know,
It's an open
would you like
question
us
as
to
well.
do you think that this is going to solve your problem? Yes. Okay, when would you like to start? And then you get into the logistics. So it's a human first rhythm.
Perfect. Got a question. I love that, by the way. Fantastic. Great, great lessons there, especially when it comes to sales and things like that. I thought that was
Yeah.
amazing. Question, because I was just at
Yes.
another event this morning, and the question was posed. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. It's always a 50-50. Should people have their prices on their website?
Oh, that's a great question.
It's a great question.
Oh, goodness. So I would say look at your own industry, um, and see what's happening there. Now, it's not a cop-out answer. What I mean is there are
It
some
is. It's a cop out.
industries, it's not a cop-out. Some industries have them. But here's the thing, it depends what you're offering. Um, there are certain things like, domain management, have the prices there because what you're talking about is either 100 quid a year or it's 150 quid a year. Okay. It depends where you are. Is it a high impact, high ticket offer, which sounds really wanky, sorry. What I mean is it something that is very fundamental and intrinsic to your business, or is it a simple service? And I think the very simple one, some I've seen marketers put their prices say because they work in packages. I've seen leadership executive trainers put their prices on because they work in packages.
Yeah.
It's about how you want to be perceived. Now, back in the day, I was raised, well, if you have to ask, you can't afford it. But I always say, actually, it's about, I want to have the conversation first because I actually tailor things and therefore I can't give you a price. So maybe it comes down to the tailoring.
Because that was the question. I said, well, I don't know because I work with corporates and I work with clients one on one. So how can I put a price on the website? I was like, how can I put a price on
Yeah.
the website when I work with children to working with a corporate, which is completely different?
You have to find out what the client wants first. I think it's right that internally we have what I would call a rate card. So if a program, and people have that. So if a program, let's say 30 days working with you, and no, working with someone, let's not get into into our
Yeah,
own, but if working with someone for 30 days comes in at, like, finger in the air, 500 quid,
yeah,
that's fine. If it's a group thing, it might only be 200 because there's lots of people, but as
yeah.
a
We bring the
business,
price.
you're
Yeah,
like,
of
I've got
course.
10 people together. Okay. And that it's a given that if it's a group thing, that it's less per head.
Yeah,
Okay. And the more access and the more time they have with you one on one, the higher the investment from the client.
yeah.
So I and a lot of service-based businesses work on that principle. It also comes down to whether you feel that you are a one and done. Now, we've talked about this because you and I have had long conversations about the power of NLP and all
Yeah,
this and how to treat trauma. And, you know, there is a thinking that traditional psychologist therapists, where you're there for months at a time, could that be done in maybe 4 sessions,
correct.
maybe
One hundred
20
percent.
minutes even?
100%.
Um,
I come from
yeah,
that
yeah,
place.
yeah. So then it's about what is that worth to the person. So how can you how can you then do like for like and pricing?
Because a therapist might say it's £175 an hour and you pay for however many sessions you
Yeah.
want. Whereas a coach who says we can get better outcomes within 4 sessions is £1,000, but you're not going to be working through your shit
Yeah.
for a long time.
I think it's about whether you want to slightly prostitutional sounding swap time for money
Yeah, I
or
get that.
whether
Yeah,
yeah, which is fine. It's absolutely fine. That's where the hourly rate comes from. And that's, it works for many, many businesses. And that's cool because people know what they're doing. So it's 100 quid an hour. Do you want it? Yes or no? No, I only want to pay 80. Okay, grand. Moving on. Or it could be value-based pricing. So if I got a 25% shift in your top line and that was worth 100,000 and I charged you 20 for that, is that worth an investment? Ooh, actually it might be because that's a 5 times return on my investment. So, but if I put on my website working with me is from 20K, people might go, I beg your pardon. But
Aye,
but I don't know what the shift is going to be. So I don't put my prices on there
I think
for
it's a
that
good
reason.
question.
Because I'm
No, that's why
value
I wanted to
based.
ask the question. And yeah, it's a good question. I think yeah, and that's why I'm
I
glad I asked you the question.
Yeah. You have to think about what is your basis for your fee rate card. Is it a straightforward hourly rate, or are you project based, or are you value based? Because project based is the one in between where you go, that piece of work, that service is X. And then nobody worries about how many hours you're doing. I will produce this. At the end of a session with me, you will feel better. At the end of working with me for 3 months, you will have these things in your business. X. Or at the end of working with me, you will have an X% uplift. It's
Yeah,
about how you want to do that. And if you are purely putting money for time, put your prices on.
I love it. Absolutely love it.
I hope this is resonating with folk, and I hope it really is validating what a lot of people are thinking. I don't think what we're talking about is anything sort of groundbreaking. I think our role is to really make sure that we are keeping an eye on what's going on out there, that we are constantly learning, and that we're pulling in the best of that learning to offer our clients. And I think at the end of the day, that's all we can really promise. We're talking earlier on about the promises. Can't promise anything, manage expectations, but we can promise that we'll be at the top of our game.
Yeah,
You know,
bang
and,
on.
and and that's how you break old conditioning, whether it's with you, with mindset, or with me, with that old sales conditioning, how you move on in your life, how you can convert your conversations into clients, whatever it is, it's really about being able to articulate the shift that you're bringing and put a value around that for people. And if you can do that in a personal, human way, then you'll get on a lot better in life.
Free stuff. Does it work? A free lead magnet. Let's that's a technical term that a
Right.
lot of people like. I don't know what he's talking about, but the whole concept of free, there's nothing free to be fair, but free,
Correct.
how does that work?
Okay.
Is that a
So,
yay or a nay from Aileen?
all right. So the purpose of a lead magnet is to get interaction with your audience. Okay. So when they are signing up to get this pro bono or complimentary piece of information, what's happening is they're saying, yes, it's okay for you to then reach out to me and say, how are you doing? Are you getting on? Now, many people go, no, I'll just unsubscribe, and that's grand. So what you as a business owner need to know, are you happy giving them this piece of paper with that information on it, knowing that there's every chance that you will not get anything in return? So actually, it's about, what do you want the lead magnet to do?
Yeah.
Most people use them to get connection, the start of the connection. And what goes on behind it is there should be a whole experience. Now, I do not mean a bullying process whereby you email them every single day of their life, break them down until they go, for the love of God, of course, right, I'll sign up with you. What I mean is, it's that whole experience of, did you get any value out of that? Can I offer you something else? Do you need some extra support? Does it make sense, or would it make sense? I got that. I was reminded about this the other week. Brilliant phrase. Would it make sense for us to have a conversation about this? Bloody genius phrase. And I have to thank a fellow salesperson for that. I was reminded, and where do you want it to go? That's the question. So as a business owner, you are looking to make the connection. As the consumer of that, you are looking for information, and it may be that you're looking for the free stuff because you actually are budget restricted. But have a think about, where do you want it to go? Because when you take the stuff that there's no cost to, it's always a do-it-yourself version.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Pretty much, mostly. Sorry, mostly. There'll be some people yelling at me, going, "No, no, it's not a do." It's like, but mostly do it yourself. And do you have the time to do it yourself?
Yeah.
And if you do, great. And if circumstances are that you haven't got the investment to have anybody else to help you with, grand. That's when the non-fee based stuff is great, is to help you. But you have to at some point think about, how do I take the next level up?
Because I, I I've done it. I've seen stuff, and I'm like, I get that, and then I'm like, well, I've got that free information. I could literally put that into Canva, regurgitate it, and now I've got that free magnet.
Yeah,
And I'm just like, this is ludicrous. But yes,
yeah,
I've got their email address, and yes, I still get messages from people that I've never looked at. So it still is a mystery to me sometimes, but I'm not on that grand scale of things yet. But
yeah,
I have often wondered about that. So and I've been very open talking about this. That's the reason I do the podcast.
yeah,
That's this great, fantastic, give away as much information as possible. They're like, they're
yeah,
the people that I want to work with and stuff like that. That's
yeah,
why I love the podcast.
exactly. So it's about the connection.
Yeah,
And actually, people pre-qualify because they'll go at the end of it and go, "Well, what a load of rubbish that was." And then they won't get in touch. And that's great. You've just saved yourself a conversation, and they've saved themselves a whole lot of time.
yeah,
Or they go, "Actually, I want to talk more." So there's a pre-qualification there.
yeah.
It helps both sides hugely. Plus, we get to sit and chat for hours on end. So, we get something out of it. And in that moment, it is about us. No, but I just, and I like to hear other people's stuff as well. You
So
know,
talk about some great successes you've had, Aileen,
yeah,
with some of your clients, because that's a powerful story as well.
yeah. Okay, so I had a client who, to be blunt, the arse fell out of their business. And they came to me because they were like, or we had a conversation. It's not so much they came to me, we had a conversation and they were just like, I don't even know where to start. And so we put together a plan and we broke it right down. We really phased it because they were so overwhelmed. They just genuinely didn't know where to start. And it wasn't the right thing to go full in and go, right, what you need is my fan dabby dozy 6 month pro. No, what they needed was just a straightforward conversation. So what we did was we had an initial strategy, discovery, let's break it all down, get it out on the table. Where's your head at? What is it that you think your business needs? And we actually did a session on that. And what happened there was it then, and that was a investable session because it was about, at the end of it, they had my recommendations, which I just gave to them and said, look, if you want to implement it yourself, crack on. If you want my help, we'll talk about that. But if you need other people to help you, at least they then know where you are and you can use that going
Yeah,
forward. So that was at level one. But the longer term was that at the end of that, they were like, okay, so where's your recommendation? So we then got the next level. So we got the next level in, and we worked like that for a while. So that was the first win, was that client never felt pressured or pushed into investing massive amounts when they were in a place where their brain was just like going to go. The second bit that came from that was, we looked at what they were offering and we rejigged. And so while their main product was high-end travel, behind the curtains type experiences, we changed that to then be looking at a different market because that particular traveller had stopped being interested, quite frankly. So we looked at where else. We discovered there was a whole new market untapped over here. So we put together, how do we engage with them? What are they looking for? So that then became another offering. But then alongside that, we came up with, well, what else could you do? So to try and build in resilience to the business, she introduced 2 or 3 products, travel products, like high-end travel bags. And then what happened was they then had their, beautiful high-end travel bag that they got when they came to do all these things. And then it morphed again because they then looked at what else could they do. Well, they could do whiskey tasting. So then they started to put together gift packs, and I mean high-end, beautiful, sustainable boxes, but really gorgeous, and started doing international whiskey tasting.
Nice.
So now we've gone from one product where it's relying completely on people coming, going, can I go to and visit this particular place and have this travel, to I would like to come over and I would like to travel. Oh, we have your bag and let's do a whiskey tasting. So she had three, and all one of them, every one of them fed the other one. So it was circular almost. And that person has now gone on to create another business alongside that, was very complimentary, and quite frankly is, going to be coining it in. And I like to think that I had something to do with that, getting those foundations in. So once you have that framework, you just keep applying it, but you're taking a step up every time. That was the biggest win for that client there.
Brilliant. I love it. And how did that make you feel, Aileen?
It it makes me feel really great. It makes me feel that I was onto something, that people were looking for an unsalesy way of running their business, that they were they wanted something that where there was no pressure to sell, that there was really tapping into the buyer psychology, all those things that we've talked about. I was right. And again, showing my age, you remember the advert when they went, I was right about that saddle. It's that kind of
What
thing,
was that advert? What was that advert?
It was Yellow Pages.
Oh, it was a yellow
Well, I
page.
think it was Yellow Pages because they were looking up for bikes. And it was the
I'd
young lad that
remember.
needed a bike for his paper round or something like that.
I
And his
remember
dad
it
said, and
well.
I were right about that saddle because it was one of those razor
It
ones.
was
Do
the
you remember?
razor ones. Yeah, I
Like, I'm
remember it.
clenching now. Just, but I tell
Brilliant.
you, and I think the other thing is, you got to put through, and we're having a laugh, and that's the other thing. You have to bring in humor to business because if you're not, I mean, again, I was raised in the 70s. You're either laughing or greeting, and I'd rather be laughing. Bringing the fun in. And that's a big intangible thing that I think my clients get, is that they tell me that they feel re-energized about their business, and they go, I can do this. And I think that's worth a huge amount,
Yeah.
because you know what it feels like when you have that sensation, you meet somebody that totally inspires you, and you go, I've got this, I can do this. They're helping. And for me, it's a way of, I suppose, paying it forward, because I've had some brilliant mentors in the past.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Aileen, I've genuinely enjoyed this conversation. It's been absolutely lovely. Is there anything else you want to share, a word of wisdom for someone struggling with sales right now?
Um, ooh, I think, I've got so many, I've got so many, obviously. I I think find yourself a mantra, a phrase, or something that you can anchor yourself with.
I'm not
I think
selling, I'm
that's,
providing. I'm not selling, I'm providing. I'm not
yeah,
selling, I'm providing.
yeah. Like, if it doesn't resonate, you'll end up there'll be resentment. Something that sort of thing. Find your own mantra. So I really like things like and I wish I could remember the man's name. I'm having a bit of a moment here.
I love it.
This is really embarrassing now.
No,
Oh
it's
well, it
not
just
at
shows you
all.
I'm human. I am human. Um, There is a gentleman, and if I could just remember his name, that would be really helpful. But he says that, profit to business is like oxygen to breathing. And if you think that business is just about profit, you're missing something.
Is that not
And
Brian Tracy?
it's not Brian Tracy. I really wish I could remember. And then Eleanor Roosevelt just
Tony
says,
Robbins?
no, it's a black and white photo of a guy.
Jim Rohn?
Flicks, flipping heck's sake. No, I'm gonna have to look this up. Keeping it real, people. Keeping it real.
Love it.
Feel free to edit this bit out. Um,
No, it's fine. We love the live ability of the podcast.
yeah.
Is it Simon Sinek?
Profits are to business as breathing is to life. Breathing is essential. Right, come on. Where's the picture? Come on. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Oh, flipping heck. Right. Peter Drucker.
Oh, that would not have. I'm looking at the books now, and I'm like, no, that would not have. That would not have. No, it's a good one though.
Yes. And here it is. Profit for a company is like oxygen for a person. If you don't have enough of it, you're out of the game. But if you think life is about breathing, you're really missing something.
Mm. And the breath is the elixir of life. That's by Cuddy.
Yeah. And then Eleanor Roosevelt, I quite like, I think she was a woman was ahead of her time. She said that the future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. That's fantastic. Aileen, this has been absolutely lovely. And I always like to let you finish. Is there anything that you want to say or share with the world right now before we say, if it's in the mind, it can be managed?
I would say that if you live by serve first and sell later, you'll do all right.
Serve first and sell later. I love it. That
You'll
is,
do all right. I can't I can't put it any more simpler. Business is about people, and if you are seeing the person in front of you, then you will absolutely be fine. And you have to trust that process.
yeah, fantastic. Love it. If it's in the mind, it can be managed. Aileen, thank you so much for being on the podcast for If It's Out of the Mind. Sales Mastery with Aileen Boyle. Maybe we should call it Serving Mastery because that's what it's all about.
Yeah,
Serving Mastery
actually, yeah,
with
you're right.
Aileen Boyle. We love it. Thank you very much. As always, big love from Cuddy. Aileen, say goodbye.
Bye. Thank you for having me, and thanks for everybody for listening.
Not a problem at all. We'll see you next time on the next episode of If It's in the Mind, It Can Be Managed, the Mind Management Mentors podcast.